Hey, y'all. If you want to head to our website to check out all the different things Pizzazz offers, then just head to pizzazzart.com. That's PZAZZART.com. You will see our online memberships. We've got Kids Club memberships, our Lettering Club membership, our one project a month membership. We call that Paint and Praise. You will see some freebies that we've got there for you, and you'll see our local classes if you're local. So head to the website, check it out, pizzazzart.com, PZAZZART.com. Hey, y'all. Have you been wanting to join us for one of our online workshops, but maybe didn't know how or where or when? Well, good news. We have got one coming up March 19th, 20th, and 21st. It's a 3-day workshop. We meet at 7 Central on our private Facebook group each night, and we're going to walk you through all kinds of fun techniques using watercolor. We've been painting a pretty Easter watercolor picture, watercolor bookmarks, watercolor bag tags, lots of pretty stuff. To check it out and to sign up, just go to watercolorworkshop.art. That's watercolorworkshop.art, and it will show you all about it. And again, we start on March 19th at 7 p.m. Central inside that private Facebook group. I think you're going to love it. At least check it out, and we would love you to join us on the 19th. So again, watercolorworkshop.art. Hey, y'all. This is Casey Hope with the Here's Hope podcast. And today I am super excited to have Maghon Taylor from All She Wrote Notes. Did I say that right?
All She Wrote Notes. That's right.
All She Wrote Notes. Yes. And so I am excited for y'all to hear from her. I will tell you, I first became aware of Maghon. I was in a gift shop here locally. It's our Christian bookstore. And, I love hand lettering. I love bright colors. I love cute stuff. And on the shelf is the cutest book called Happy Hand Lettering. It was all the fun colors that I love. It was the fun hand lettering. And then I started opening it and I was like, oh, I love this book. And so I bought the book and I loved it so much that, we send all of our lettering club members, we send them Happy Mail every month. And I'm like, they'll love this too. So we bought hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them, sent them to our club members. They all loved them. Then we're so fortunate to have you come into our group to teach. And so, and we've just loved you and your style ever since. So I'm super excited to have you here today. For the people who might not be familiar with you, please just give a little quick, who you are, what you do.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for having me. I'm honored to be here, Casey. And I am an author and an artist. So I mainly do hand lettering art. I can draw, I can't really draw you a horse, but I can write the word horse so pretty. So that's usually what I tell people. If I do a little bit of doodles and patterns and stuff like that. But I'm on a mission to spread happiness through my handwriting. So everything that we do, all of the products that we create usually have my little whimsical doodles on there. And then we have been online, we've been in business. This is our 11th year. And for 9 of those years, we were exclusively online, and I would travel and tour all around the Southeast, teaching lettering classes and teaching workshops. And then, of course, when COVID happened, everything kind of flipped on its head. My in-person workshops, which back then were about 60% of my business, went away overnight. And I shifted gears to doing more licensing and collaborations. Thankfully, the Lord had those in the works well before, everything shut down. I never could have known, of course, that was coming. But then that created a new challenge for us as far as just storage. And now we have all this inventory and where are we going to put all this stuff? And so my husband, Chris, lovingly kind of encouraged me to leave the nest of our house. I had to run it from home up until that point. And then I ended up purchasing a 2,000 square foot building that was just right around the corner from us in a neighboring town. And I never could have imagined that was going to be where my heart really was. That's what I enjoy more than anything else. We have our studio. I teach classes here. We also have a little bit of a shop that people come and do a few times a month. We run it in a way that works for us instead of the traditional retail business model. But it is my dream come true, a dream I didn't even know that I had. I never would have told you 3 years ago that I would want a store or that I would want our own space, but now I can't imagine it any other way. So I'm a retail brick and mortar shop owner. I'm an online store owner and an author and an artist.
That's awesome. And I love your studio. It is so cute. I loved watching you and your dad work on that from the beginning, and all the just the heart and hard work that went into that. And now it's so cute. I love it.
Thank you. It's so much fun. Doing that with my dad, like it's the greatest thing I've ever got to do. Like I had a ball. Like I would do it again in a heartbeat. Like we had so much fun. And just being able to like my dad's a contractor, so I grew up like knowing how to like drive a nail or use a saw. Like, and he says I roll my eyes a lot less as a grown up than he remembers me rolling my eyes as a child. I still think I appreciated it as much then as I did, as a grown up. And it took us a year and a half, so I did not take out a loan. Like I just paid as we went along, just a little bit at a time. I mean, there were times I was like running out of money and we needed to put in windows, and I was like, okay, let's launch a product, let's do a sale.
I love that. That is the entrepreneur life. I love that. It's the hustle. It's to be impatient.
It was, and nobody really has ever said I was patient, like even including myself, but I was, and I did, and people would say like, when's your grand opening? I'm like, I don't know, whenever we get it finished, whenever it's done, it will be done, and that will be the time. And I mean, it tested my faith for sure, but just continually like it just now that I'm sitting here, like now that I'm in it, now that we've been here, this will be 2 years in May, open 2 years in May. Like I cannot imagine any other path. Like this is exactly where I feel like God was leading me and right where I feel like I'm supposed to be.
I love that. I love that. And I can relate in a lot of ways. We've had a brick and mortar store for 16, close to 17 years, and we took it online, and the majority of our business is online, but there is nothing like, I cannot walk away from the in-person classes. Yeah. I love them. I love being with people and making them smile, kids and adults and all the things. And so I can't imagine it any other way. I love online, but I love being able to see people face to face too. So I relate totally.
I'm that way too. And I think like for so many years, it was just online, and I like knew people and had like friends, I'm doing quotation marks with my hands. Like I had like friends, like people that I knew, but those were not like my neighbors. They weren't people that I was going to run into at the grocery store or that go to school with my son or go to our church. Like now I feel like I really have like actual real relationships, and like I'm so connected and I feel so grounded, like in such a good way, versus when it was online, it just didn't feel real in the same way that it does like here in person. And I just feel like my heart has grown for children and for kids and for just people that are right here in our community. Whereas before I was trying to grow so far and wide, online that I don't think I had that. Like I was in touch as much with my local community as I am now.
Yeah. But as speaking of far and wide, you do have a far and wide reach. So I want to go down because I love seeing your success as far as the different partnerships and collaborations. So I would love to talk about a few of those, because there's some cool stuff. There's some really cool stuff. So you tell me, what do you think out of your... Well, let me back up. I was about to say, tell me what you think is the coolest. I'll tell you what I think is the coolest from my viewpoint. But let's back up. And when did you start getting involved in the licensing world?
So I have done licensing for about 6 or 7 years. So a good chunk of the time that we've been in business, I was licensing. So it started out really small. It didn't even have my name on it. It didn't even look like me. I was just writing some words that people would give me, and I would send it to them, and they would put it on products. And, I wouldn't even know it was going to be in a store. I would just get a check in my mailbox every so often that, that's how much it was. But then as that partnership grew, I started to do more and more like branded licensing, where they were literally slapping all she wrote notes. It was pink. It was confetti. It looked like me. They were involving me a lot more in the process of like, hey, let's collaborate on these ideas. Let's, what would you like to make? What would you like to dream about? And when we kind of made that turn was coming up on 2020, when those products started to release. And so we went to market in Atlanta and in Dallas, and I got to, meet these stores and these retailers that were going to carry my products. And that was just such a cool moment, because I had gone to market for so many years as like just a looky-loo and like as a dreamer, before my stuff was actually there with my name on a wall and my picture, life-size picture
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
All of those moments were just, such a big, like, pinch me, like, wow, this is really cool. This is really something special. And I'm so thankful, for the ways that shaped our business. And we're not doing as much of that currently, but it was a really cool season and a really cool time for us to be able to do that. We had about 3 big licensing partners that were much larger than I am alone, or, and the things that we were able to create and do, when I manufacture products myself, I order in the hundreds, like, 100, 200, maybe 300, like, at a time. And these big companies could order thousands,
Right.
and like hundreds of thousands of certain things. And so I just did not have the capacity or the cash or the bandwidth or the space to be able to grow in that way. And so it was really fun to be able to do it like that. And so we had several licensing, opportunities, and then which led us to some of the big name ones. So for years we were in like smaller boutiques and shops and stores, and we still are in a lot of different places, but the big ones were Walmart and QVC. Being able to do things like that, you were just on a much larger, like, national scale, happened because of my partnership with DaySpring, who is my publisher of my books. And so I got to go. DaySpring's owned by Hallmark, and so I got to go on the Hallmark channel whenever that was still happening. They used to have a show called Home and Family. So this was all like early 2020. And it's so funny because I was on top of the world in January 2020. Like, I had just come off, a book tour in 2019 when Happy Hand Lettering came out, which, I mean, we went to like 14 states and like all these cities, me and my dad, and traveled all around with my confetti car. And oh my goodness, it was just, I was living the dream. I mean, it was incredible. And so we start 2020 on Hallmark Channel. I got invited to come back. Like, I was auditioning for a TV show in LA, like all these things like that. I was like, it's happening. Like, this is what's going on. This is real. This is like, the dream is coming true. Oh, little Megan.
And then the world shut down.
I never could have known I was going to be like, whoo, no, it's not what's happening. But looking back, like, I feel like I was chasing things. Like, I was like going after, like, oh, okay, let's do this. And I was really like hustling hard to like put myself out there, to put my name out there. I would go to any state. I would go to any city almost every single night during at least one night a week. I was somewhere else. And I did not know that, obviously that was going to happen. But during COVID is when my studio came to fruition. And that came about really out of necessity, like needing to get all this out of my house. But building this space and then building this workshop, and then it just changing my heart and changing my perspective, is that I don't really need to be everywhere. I just want to be right here.
That's really interesting, because a lot of places were opposite than that. A lot of brick and mortar shut down and go to online. Right. And you're saying during that time, you started saying, let me invest right here. We
started building, and I thought about like, hey, what can I do here instead of me being like everywhere? And it's just been interesting, like just the perspective, like if I had gotten all those big dreams, like if I had gotten all these LA opportunities, like all these things I wanted, and I felt like I was so close, I could taste them, I wouldn't have what I have now. Just there's no way they would have been able to happen at the same time. And so I wouldn't trade it. I wouldn't change it. I love like where we've ended up, and I love what we've built, because now it's, people ask that question, like, where do you see yourself in 5 years, or where do you see yourself in 10 years? Like, I'm going to be right here. And I want to be on this corner. Like, I want to brighten this corner for as long as the Lord will let me. And like, I didn't never see that before. Like, I could tell you these big dreams and, have all these ideas and things, but it's like now, like I have a much clearer picture and vision of like exactly where I would want to be. Now, what God has planned, who knows? He likes to surprise me.
When you said where I'll be in 5 or 10 years, I thought, oh gosh, when people ask me that, I'm like, I have no clue. 5 years ago, I would not have thought 1 year ago, I would not have thought that we were not downtown Prattville. You know what I mean? Like, things change so much in God's plans, and circumstances change so much. So you really breezed past some of your big collaborations. So I want to go, you said those real quick and real nonchalantly, but let me go back, because they are very cool. Okay. You have your own little spot in every Walmart store. Like
There's
that.
only 500. So like that's a lot of stores, but it's like a fourth of their stores. So
Okay, well,
500, they're
everyone
crazy.
that
It's still
I've been
a
in,
lot.
maybe you're just in the South a lot.
It is
I
a
don't
lot
know.
of South. I don't know
Okay.
how they picked where, but
Okay.
it is like it's like 500 Walmart
Okay. So
stores,
in only
which is still very
500
cool.
stores.
But yeah,
Okay. But there is a whole little, we're not talking about one product. We're talking about a whole
it's a
spot
collection.
with your picture, with your brand, with your products, all the things. Like that was so exciting for me. Like I was like, I felt like I know her.
I could not even, I still don't know how that happened. I still don't know how I even got in that conversation, but it did. And it was the coolest thing too, Casey. Like when I found out about Walmart, a lot of these collaborations, man, they're happening years before it ever sees the light of day. And sometimes you work on stuff for a year and it doesn't happen. So like there's just a lot of that. But the day that I got the call about that was actually one of the worst days I'd ever had of my business. I had found out through another licensing partner had items lost at sea, that like my money is like in the ocean. Like I don't know when those products are coming. It's like right before Christmas. I had already, which was, I mean, you live and you learn, but I had sold those items online thinking, I had been told they're at a warehouse, 40 minutes from your house. You just got to come pick them up. I was like, okay, I'll go ahead and sell them online. Then I'll go get them. And that way I know how many to get, whatever. Well, they weren't there. And what I was told wasn't what was actually true. And I had to owe people money back. Like I was having to like cancel orders, refund orders. And I mean, this is like, we're doing all this construction. That money's gone. Like I already like spent that. Like I put in a window, I put in a door. Like it was about $10,000 that we lost like in the mix. And for us, that's a lot of money. I mean, like this is all my money, like, going in and out. And it was a lot. And it was just really devastating. And I felt really rocked and rattled because things I believed, people that I trusted. And it's like, I get it. Like being in that moment of like panic, I think you want to tell people what they want to hear and not really what's like actually happening. And so I was in a bit of a mess, like in that day, in that week, in that time. And I left work at like 4:30 and I got a call from my publisher, DaySpring, and they love the Lord. They're the best people. And the first word that I wanted to say was a bad word. When I saw my phone and saw them calling, I was like, oh no, like, I mean, there's no way this is going to be good news. It's just the day that I've had. And that's not normally like where my mind goes, but let me just tell you, we were at a bottom. And so I like stopped like at the stoplight, like up here. And she was like, hey, this is, Joy from DaySpring. Like, are you at work? And I was like, no. And she's like, well, could you turn around and like go back? Like, we want to talk to you about that. And I was like, I just know my books are at the bottom of the ocean because I had a book launching Praise and Positivity. So I'm feeling real positive in this moment. This book is supposed to come out in January. And I'm like, well, I just got this other bad news, like, same timeline, whatever. I'm like, I'm sure my books are at the bottom of the ocean. And I get on the call. It's like 4 people. And it's like the VP of like market, like big, I don't normally talk. And I look just like this. Hair, actually probably didn't even have makeup on. But it's like all these big deal people. And they're like, how would you feel about, working with our largest retailer? And I was like, oh my goodness. Like, yeah, of course. And I thought they were going to put books in the stores. Like at that point, all I had made with them were books. I thought they were going to put books. And I think in my head, I knew they meant Walmart. Like they live in the same area, like DaySpring and Walmart are same neighborhood. And so I think I knew that. And like, then they were like, yeah, it's not just your books. Like, it's this. And they like click the slide and it's like the mock-up of like our end cap. And it's like my name and my picture and like all these colorful products. And I lost it. Like, I mean, I came ugly. Like I was crying so hard. They have the video. It's very embarrassing. They have the video of me like finding out. And I mean, I like cannot even get it back together because I kept saying like, you have no idea. Like, you don't even know. You have no idea. And like, I had journal, like I'm a big, like journal my prayers, like get my thoughts out on paper, like even when they're ugly. And like, everything I had just gone through, everything I just experienced that day, like I just was empty. Like I had put it all out and I'm like, God, I literally wrote down like, I don't know what the plan is. Like, I don't know, but like, I'm not okay. And like, I need you to show me the way. Like, I need you to show me like that you have this figured out because I sure as you know what, don't. So like, please, 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 please help me. Please show me. And like the very next day, I find out that we have this opportunity. And in publishing, a lot of times you'll get an advance. So they pay you a little bit of money to do the thing. And then you get money, you know, as you start to sell the thing. So like, there's like a little bit of money up front. And don't you know, like the way the Lord works, all that money that I lost was coming right back to me. And it was like almost like to the penny. It was like $9,000 and some change. So it was like exactly what I had just been crying and panicked and worried over. And so I got to work, and it was just still so crazy. Like the timing, like had we been busy, that was not a good Christmas. Obviously we didn't have product to sell, so it wasn't thriving. So had we been super busy shipping, had we had the merchandise that I was trying to sell and trying to push out, I wouldn't have had the time to sit there and do all that art for that Walmart collection. They needed it before the end of the year. And like, that's historically the busiest time for us. And we really weren't that busy. So like, I had time to do it. And I just poured myself into that collection. I got so excited about it. You know, it meant so much to me. And, you know, to be able to just watch how God had ordered those steps and how that was in the works. Like when I was panicking, like when I was nervous and when I was worried and stressed, and, you know, all that had already been, they pitched like multiple artists to Walmart and they chose who they wanted. And I just so happened to get chosen. And so it's just such an honor. But like, I think because I mean, by the time it came out, it had been a year, you know, since then. So it's like you kind of get out of the moment and you're like, okay, like let's promote this, let's on to the next thing. But it's like the most important part to me of that whole entire Walmart piece was the day that I found out, and like what that said to me about how God is paying attention and how he's in the details, and how even when we doubt like whatever is happening, just knowing that he's gone before us and that his hand is in it. And like, I don't know why I still get worried or why I still doubt or I still get nervous, but I mean, I do. But I think that was just such a great example of like how he's in it. Like, I'm not in it by myself.
Gosh, I mean, it makes me like, I just feel so weepy just hearing that, just because of exactly what you said, like God's goodness. Like to me, that's that whisper of, I got you. Like, I got
every
you.
time.
Like you think that this is the worst
it's over.
Yeah. I can replace that money like that and expand your influence. Bam. Like, I feel like I just talked about this recently. You know, we see, like when Jesus tells the disciples to go put your net out again, and like we've been doing, like we know our business, we know how to fish, like whatever, you know, but we haven't been catching anything. Right. And he's like, do it again. And it's so much that the nets are breaking and they have to get friends to help. And I think we hear those stories and we think that they are just
like fairy tales, like this happened.
But God is still multiplying and that is such a perfect example of like, it's looking pretty bleak. It's looking like all the fish are lost. Right. They're gone. They're at the
bottom. In the
sea. and Jesus is like, watch this. You know, like I got you. It's just, I just love that. Like I love that because God's just so cool. Jesus is so cool.
And his hand, I mean, and I've continued to see like, you know, things over the years, like over and over. And I mean, even just recently, like we've just had a harder year. Like I used to basically do my whole entire business on social media. Like that was it. Like, so I made every dollar I made from Instagram or Facebook. Like I never paid for ads. I never really did email marketing. It was just like all my eggs were in the social media basket. And like for any of us that have been on that platform lately, it's changing so much. And like, you know, they don't owe me anything. I've never given them $1. So like, you know, whatever I did get, great. Thank you for those great 8 years. But like, these are not so fruitful. And I was feeling really like tired. Like I was just feeling burnout. And I mean, I used to teach people how to have fun on Instagram and I was not having fun on Instagram. Like it was not a good time for me. And like, we went through a lot of grief in our personal life last year, just a lot of loss. And like with my job being like happy and positivity, like I think I felt like there wasn't quite space for like my actual real emotions and feelings that I was going through because like, I just put out a book about positivity. I don't need to go complain to you on the internet about like what we're doing. Like, I need to be uplifting everyone else. And so for the first time, like last year, it really felt like work, and it felt like, okay, like, let me like get this going. And it just wasn't easy. And our church, like going into this year, like I went to church, it was January 14th, and they were like, talking about like fasting and like taking a break from distractions and like laying something down that is like distracting you from like listening to God and like what he has for you. And they did not say it had to be social media. In fact, I'm sitting there thinking like, oh man, I'm gonna do Chick-fil-A, like I'm gonna do this, like okay, I'm gonna pick something like easy, like that I'm gonna do. And it was like, I get this, like, I don't hear God's like loud voice. Like I get just like a feeling in my body that's like, this is what I'm telling you to do. Like, this is what I'm saying. And it was like, it's Instagram, Megan. Like, it's like, you need to get off. Like, you need to stop. You need to take a break. And I'm like, but you probably mean like my personal account, which I haven't posted on my personal account in like 8 years. Like, it's not that. Like, it was only the business and the personal are like, it's all the same. And it was just so clear. And I'm like, but like, that's my business. That's how I make money. And I'm sitting there like during the sermon, I don't even pay attention to like the rest of the sermon, because I'm trying to wrestle with like what I know I've been told. And I came back to the studio that afternoon, and I was actually meeting a person that was coming here, and she was the only way she was communicating with me was DM, because like at that point, the last month, that's just how, that was just a direct line. Like nobody emailed me, nobody, like it was just like constant. And I didn't have any boundaries like in place. Like it was just, it always was all the time. I was always available. And I just so clearly felt him say, like, put this down. Like, it's not going to tank your business if, you walk away. And I didn't have a plan. Like, it's not like we had like post scheduled or like email scheduled or like anything. And so I just deleted them from my phone that day. And then 4 weeks later, like, and it was yesterday was the day that I was, 28 days, like since I had been off. Like, I mean, I got back on, but I didn't stay on very long. I was like, oh, like, no, this is like, I enjoyed the space. Like I enjoyed the detachment, and I enjoyed like the difference in like being at work and then being at home, because so many times I was doing that. Like I wasn't like even at work. I was like in the car with Chris or, doing something with Vance. And like, I felt like since I was being helpful and since I was responding, like that was a good use of my time. But I think like I can do that here, like in this building. It doesn't have to like flood out into like the rest of my life. And so that's like a brand new thing. But like God, sure enough, like showed up like during that whole month. Like January is historically not our greatest month anyway, and we didn't set any records, like, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Right.
Being on there.
Right.
So it is. And it just proved to me like to be obedient. Like, don't deny that. Like if you feel that nudge or if you feel that push, like just do it. Like that's the least I can do. Like God's done so much for me. If I feel like he's telling me to do that, like, okay, no problem. Like, fine. And I mean, the first day I reached for it like 5 or 6 times, probably that first hour. Like I never thought about it again. And like, I don't know. I think that was an idol in my life. And I think I had a lot of value tied up in that and what it looked like. I mean, I built it for 10 years. I'm proud of it. Like, of course, that's important to me, but like, it just was so easy to walk away because I felt like I was walking towards what God wanted for me instead of what I wanted for myself. And like, I mean, I felt very creative. Like I felt very refreshed. And like, I'm honestly like super excited to see how he teaches me to be able to do this business with or without social media. And there's so many people in our town that I look up to that have been in business 20 years and never even had that. So it's like, I know it can be done, but it's just figuring out like what that looks like and how it fits into my life now. Like, as the wife, I want to be the mom. I want to be the, even the business owner that I want to be, but it's a wild ride.
Yeah.
It's always up to something.
Well, I feel like that's a little convicting to me in my own self, because I'm the same way. I think so many entrepreneurs are like, you're always checking messages, answering messages
all the time.
I was at church youth function last night, and driving, trying to respond, trying to voice talk, so that I don't, because I'm afraid if I don't respond as soon as I see it,
Yep.
I'm going to forget it. And then
Same.
people
And I
leave me alone.
never wanted someone to feel like I was ignoring them or like I
Right.
wasn't giving good customer service or paying
Right.
attention. But it was like, at what cost? Like half the time, this is so embarrassing. Half the time I was on there, I was not fully clothed. I was either on the toilet, I was in the tub, I was in the bed. Like I was doing that
Yeah.
during all these times. I was supposed to be resting or relaxing or like taking a minute like for myself. And I was like, oh, let me just be so efficient. Let me be so busy. And I'm like, new policy. I must be wearing a bra if I'm going to go in there and respond for work.
Good rule of thumb. Good rule of thumb. Well, I love all that you're saying. And a lot of what you have already said really ties into what I saw a clip of you on Instagram. You were speaking, it looked like a business event, and you said something that just gripped me. And I was like, oh, like so many women need to hear this. So many small business women especially need to hear this, because you were sharing, and the quick clip I saw was, there's these big bucket list items, but my success was not tied to those bucket list items like I thought they were. And I think the way that you worded it was like that your definition of success had been redefined. And I would love for you to speak just a little bit more to that.
Yes. So that was a special moment for me, like having that opportunity. And I had planned to talk, but that was on a panel. I was asked a question and I was just answering. So it was really like, I'm like saying it as I'm thinking it, like for the first time. And I talked about how like I made all these goals. I made all these dreams and these bucket lists. And, for years, like I would, try to outdo the year prior, and let's see how we can top that. And like, we had a really good year a few years ago. We got to do QVC and Walmart in the same year. Realistically, that's not gonna, like, we're not gonna top that. We might like achieve that again, but we're not really gonna like surpass that. And so it was kind of like heading into that next year, those big, amazing, awesome things that happen. I think when I was starting my business, if you had told me, hey, one day you're going to be on QVC, I would have thought that being on QVC would completely change the course of my whole entire business. That it would, like, I would wake up and I would have all these buckets of money and I would have all, like, but that is not at all, like, not even close. I've done more profitable things on Instagram, like, than I did on these big, like, Walmart, like all these humongous, like, Starbucks, Michael's, like all these major brands. And I'm grateful for them. Don't get me wrong. I'm so excited and I'm so honored that I got to do that. But they did not move the needle like in my company the way that I would have perceived that they would. Like I thought it was going to be like beach house money, like overnight. Like I think I just didn't know. And when you get in it, you're a little bit disillusioned. You're like, oh, well, I mean, that was cool and everything. Like, I'm super thankful, but that just isn't that much. It's not crazy. And looking back, like, I realized that for me, like, I want to be worth knowing rather than well known. And that is a quote
Say
that
it again. Say it again.
And the full quote is like, I want to seek to be worth knowing rather than well known. And I just felt like God was showing me even then. I was in September. And like, I mean, now, like, I'm like, it was like, I'm fully committed. That's the background on my phone. Like, I see that quote every day. And it just reminds me, like, ground yourself, like, make sure that if you're going to put yourself out there and you want these followers and you want these brands and these businesses and these companies to know your name, make sure your name is worthy of being known, and make sure that you're the kind of person that you are the same as you're pretending to be, and what you're putting out there. And that's always been super duper important to me. And I do believe that we are one and the same. So we don't have a separate account. Like, it's what you see is what you get. But I just felt even more convicted by that. And that, like, I don't have to be chasing everything. I don't have to be going after these big, amazing things. And like, granted, if they come my way, by all means, bring it on. Let's go. Let's go for it. But I'm so content being the girl with the cute shop on the corner. Like, I'm so content being like, the good neighbor, like, to all these people, and being involved in our community and going and reading to these kids' schools who have no idea who I am or how many followers I have or any of those things that mattered so much to me. Like, as an adult, I don't think matter at all to them. Right, and it's very refreshing to me. Like, to be able to be nobody, like in a big sense of the word. And so it's an honor to be able to have that new perspective. And looking back, like, I think the first 10 years, it feels like I did it for me. Like I, had a lot of big dreams and a lot of big goals and a lot of flashy things that I got to do. And again, I would do them again. Like, call me, it's fine. I will say yes. But I think the next 10, like, I want to do it for them. Like, I want to do it for those girls who look up to me and who come in the store and get excited about art supplies and who like love to doodle and love to draw. And I want to do it for these kids who I'm writing these children's books for. Like, what can I teach them? Like, what kind of wisdom like could I impart like on the next generation? Because like, I'm aging out, like I'm a mom, like, I've moved on. Like, when I started this business, I wasn't even engaged, I mean, like,
not aging out. Just FYI.
But it's like, what can I do for the future?
Yeah.
And I just really have that on my heart. And I think like, if you had asked me 3 years ago, do you want to do something for like middle school girls? I would have been like, God, no, thank you. Like, unsubscribe. No, how did I get on this list? But now that's exactly what I want to do. And like, that's exactly where my heart is. Mm-hmm. And I think he's led me there, like little bit at a time. I always say it's like confetti, he like sprinkles it as a trail. And I'm like, okay, like let me follow this. Like, let me pick up one piece at a time and I'll fit it together. But it's like, and even like when I came home, like from that event, like, I did this big fundraiser in our town. It was called Dancing with the Stars. My grandma thought it was like the real Dancing with the Stars. Very important. I mean, she was very disappointed to realize it was Burlington, like my town. Dancing was a little bit different. And so we made it big, but not that big. Okay, like no way. And so we did that, and it was so fun because it got me dancing again. And dancing was always a huge part of my life. And like, we won most entertaining. Like, it was one of the best nights ever. And I got off the stage and I had a text from a local dance studio owner who's like the big deal dance studio owner, like the coolest one, the one with all the fun. I mean, the parade shakes up the whole street. Like, it's just amazing. Mm-hmm. And she was like, Megan, would you ever want to teach like little kids jazz? And I started crying because I'm like, if you had asked me 3 years ago, I would have said no. And like, I couldn't say yes fast enough. Like, yes, that's exactly what I want to do. I would love to do that. Like, but God gave me the bandwidth. Like, he gave me the space and the time, like, to be able to do that. And it was such an easy yes. And so it's like, now, like, I have a hobby, like I have a passion outside of my work and, and like what I do to make money and, day to day. And I mean, man, it brings me so much joy to give back and to do that for them. And so it's cool. It's crazy how, and I think like, I'm a very open, like, person. I don't have to have a plan. I'm good with that. I'm good with, kind of go whichever way he leads me. But like, literally, if he had told me, I mean, if he had said 5 years ago I was going to have a store, I would have laughed you out of town. Like, no way would I ever. And here we are. Now we have that. Or if you had said, you're going to do this someday, like, I just didn't see it for myself. But I think so many times we don't have to. And I think sometimes we can hold so tightly to our plans that we're not leaving room, for what he might have in store, or even believing that that's possible. So I'm here to tell you, there's a lot of good that's not even your idea.
I love it. That's usually the best, the best, well, what does the Bible say? Our man's plans, will fail, but God's will succeed. And I'd love, it sounds like you're just in such a good place in life, being able to do things that bring you joy, not necessarily big bucks teaching dance, but it's joy. And I think it's important for, again, mamas, small business owners, even if you're not a small business owner, like, find the thing that brings you joy, whether that is dance or art or cooking every once in a while. I think that's an amazing takeaway, because we're so busy doing all the things, but it's just life giving to find that thing that lights you up, and I love that you're able to do that. Love it. Well, we are going to wrap it up. There have been so many good takeaways, so much cool, just life lessons that you shared. And thank you for just being generous with your time.
Yeah.
And I know, and I did want to say too, your children's books, we read those here in our studio. I don't know if I've ever
told that before,
but we teach kids Monday through Thursday every afternoon. So we have like 10, 12 classes every single week. And Betty Confetti used to stay up on our shelves. We moved studios, so we don't have a shelf there, but Betty Confetti was there. And we we just love, there's another book called Beautiful Oops. I don't know if you ever read
Yes,
that.
I have. Yeah.
So it's a real similar, take
Yeah.
the oopses and turn them into beautiful oopses, take the mess ups and turn them into confetti.
Yes.
And so I just love that life lesson. So we carry that on too through our
I think that's so special. And I love teaching. I think kids with art, like all these kids, like it's like not really till you're an adult that you don't believe, you know what I mean? Like I think all these kids are like, I'm a beautiful artist. Like this is amazing. You're like, what is that? Tell me more about it. What'd you draw? But like it's like at some point it crosses the threshold where it's like, oh, I'm not, I don't know this, that, like it's not perfect. Like
I think some bad teacher along the way messes people up.
I think so too. I think for all of us that's the case. And I mean, I'm thankful, that I had too much confidence in a lot of ways.
Well, thank you so much again. Tell everybody where they can find you, more about you, your product, all the things.
Yes, of course. Our business is All She Wrote Notes, and our website is allshewrotenotes.com. And we're on Facebook and Instagram sometimes at All She Wrote Notes as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. It has been a blessing.
Thank you for having me.
See ya. I hope y'all enjoyed that podcast. Y'all be sure to go subscribe this, leave a review. Let us know how you're liking it. We like that feedback. And if you want to follow us on other social platforms, on Instagram, it's Pizzazz Art Studio. Same for Facebook. And Pizzazz is P-Z-A-Z-Z. Pizzazz Art Studio. Go check us out and see what all we have to offer over there.